How can teachers keep growing without giving up their summer? Stick with us for practical PD ideas that are light and flexible.
Welcome to the DIESOL podcast, where we focus on developing innovation in English as a second or other language. I'm Brent Warner, professor of ESL at Irvine Valley College, and I'm here with the wonderful Ishel Reyes, award-winning educator in innovation and professional development, specializing in teacher training with an EdTech focus. How's it going?
Midsummer. Is it midsummer? It is midsummer,
Not like the movie, though,
kind of.
hopefully. I just came back from a little vacation, little time off, and I did my best not to be online much of that time, or especially not to be doing like, posting about all sorts of ideas, whatever. I just wanted to kind of check out, and I know you kind of did the same thing,
Me
right?
too. Yeah, I was on vacation. No phone, no Wi-Fi, as much
Woo!
as I could possibly uh
What a
muster.
way to live. Who knew?
Muster as I could handle, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Please, please, please. So I think we should start off by saying, "Hey, please disconnect," and then we're
Mhm.
gonna finish by saying, "Here's all the ways you should reconnect."
But we did promise light and flexible, so
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the idea here today is we're going to keep it simple. We just want to share some things that, uh, a lot of us feel like we kind of fall behind during the summer, and or on the other hand, as I look on like LinkedIn, I'm like, everybody is spending way too much time over exploring, and it's like, take your time off too, so I think part of what we're trying to say is, hey, here are a few things you should explore these a little bit, but don't go too heavy. Like if
for
you
one or two.
yeah, try one or two. Keep it light. Find out what's working for you, and we'll just share a few things. So, Ishel, are you ready to jump in?
Dive in.
Dive in. Here we go. All right. So first thing we wanted to talk about is some tools. So I think the recommendation here, one, we have not fully explored these ones, as we often do this. We kind of say, hey, like these are
Mhm.
some things that might be worth exploring, and we're just looking at them because they have some interesting possibilities. So we'll share a few of the ideas, and I'm gonna start with Padlet and the Padlet's updates. Have you been looking at all at this, Ishel?
Not recently. So, maybe about a year ago, I got whatever was coming back at SD24.
Mm. Yeah, well, there's been a lot of new stuff for
Hmm.
them. So, uh, briefly, one of the things actually I am kind of interested. So we'll combine two of these parts together. So now they have something that's more. It's like the video discussions, which is really trying to replace Flipgrid,
Flip.
and yeah,
Flip.
Flip. Sorry, I never got it in my
I
head to call it
know.
Flip. So,
Flip
uh,
was just never a
what a
hit.
terrible name, and that's why they went out of business, because they chose the wrong name. um, but anyways, it really is meant to replace that. So they've got this kind of video discussions thing. I haven't done a deep dive into it, but that is the idea, is like posting and responding in video format. And then connected to that, which is really great for language learners, is they have a caption editing option inside of there now. And so I like the idea that maybe students would make a video for themselves, it would auto caption it, but then they could click on it and then go in and see, like, hey, hold on a second, I need to change some of these things, and
Hmm.
recognize when they're editing the captioning to also helpfully improve some of their English, or improve like their understanding of, oh, I thought I said this, but the AI heard me say this. This is an activity I've been working
Hmm.
with for quite a while, but I like that it would be built into your own conversations or your own presentations.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then
Um,
a couple
oh,
other
go
things
ahead.
inside of there too. Sorry, just
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen these, but one, table format. So they've got this whole interactive. Basically, it's like a Google Sheets or a Excel thing, and then they also have a tool which is more kind of like the general wraparound services, but it might be useful, which is Padlet TA. So it's like, hey, make a worksheet, or
Hmm.
help me generate a lesson plan, or some of those things that are just kind of, I'm not sure. that's what almost all the AI things are using, is just wrapping it around to make more worksheets. But there might be some good stuff in there too.
Yeah, I'm actually going to stick up for Padlet TA
Okay.
because with my teacher trainees,
Mm-hmm.
especially those who've never made their own lesson plan, it helped them figure out the format.
Oh
So for
yeah.
them to see to take a topic and then see it generate and then tailor that to what they're required in my class, that actually was a really good way to help them keep their sources and also go back and look at it. So
Love it. Love
it'd
it.
be
Okay.
useful.
Yeah, cool.
Well, the next tool is Google Gemini,
Mm.
and Google is really amping up what they're adding into Gemini.
Yeah, big time.
Some of the, some of the, an article I saw was like, it's the, what did they call it? The magic school and school A, or what is it?
School
School
AI
AI killer.
killer or something.
Because now they've got all of these options available for educators.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had a chance to play around with it, but I did see like the layout of the all the tools, and it's really cool that we can have that in built into Google,
Yeah.
or built into or have Gemini do all of those things.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to try it out?
A tiny bit. So at ISTE, they
Mm-hmm.
were all there talking about all of these kind of crazy
Mm-hmm.
things that they're doing. When we did the book launch and the little launch party, Sarah
Mm-hmm.
Davila shared some really cool
Mm-hmm.
things around like the interactive elements, because basically it's not just a chat bot. It's like now you can build the kind of these interactive apps right into
Mm-hmm.
it, and then have students interact and play with them. So she was doing these cool things around like, hey, here's an old PDF I had, that was like a bunch of like flashcards you would traditionally cut and paste, print on paper, cut out, and then give to students, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like it turns it into digital flashcards, and like, just kind of say like telling it to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And so there's all these really cool things that I would like to explore with Gemini for sure. And speaking of Google, I will also mention Notebook LM. I think all of these are things that would deserve a full episode each, right? And so we have talked about Notebook. I think we've mentioned Notebook LM a bit in the past. It's been around kind of for at least a year if not more, but Notebook LM allows you to upload a bunch of resources, and then it kind of turns that into the base of information for the language model. So instead of like ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, where it's like kind of the whole world of information, Notebook LM is like whatever you have uploaded or whatever you have connected to it, that's the only place where it's pulling from. So it's a little bit more trustworthy, I think, for students if you're sharing it with them, to say like, hey, we're working on this one idea in this one content area, and we don't want it to go outside of that area, and so it will only pull based on the information that you've provided, which is pretty nice. And then can create little podcasts, it can create mind maps, all sorts of interesting things.
That is really cool. And you told me about this. I hadn't played with it. I
Mm-hmm.
still haven't, but you showed me and it looks fascinating. So I'm actually going to try that out this week and see what I can do.
Yeah.
Um, Another AI related tool are the agents, ChatGPT agents.
Mm-hmm.
New release, some interesting, some concerning. I actually haven't played with very many of them related to the classroom, but are there some that you sort of glanced
Well,
at?
this is the one. I mean, it's brand new, right? And so what this idea is like is essentially it's the idea of like you can link in ChatGPT to do work for you and like log into your accounts and then go into whatever it is that you're sharing, and it will do pieces of work for you. So it's like, hey, I have to do step 1, step 2, step 3, and they're all these different places. And so these
Mm,
agents are now meant to kind of help do these things. Now, of course, the big problem that's coming up with this is
mhm,
students can say, hey, I want it to log into my LMS. I want it to go find my upcoming assignments and complete those assignments and submit it for me, right? And so now there's like a new crisis of like, how do we deal with this if we're doing all this online education stuff, when, online education really helps certain groups of students, but then it turns into these problems in other ways, right? And so, again, potentially really interesting, potentially really valuable, and also potentially really damaging and problematic as a lot of these conversations go. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one and maybe do a little bit of a deeper dive as we get a little more information going forward.
All right. If you haven't left us any reviews, I think our reviews are pretty old now. But if
Way
you're
old.
listening,
You
if you're
guys, you
listening,
guys, come on, help us out here. Give us a
like
review.
I know you're listening because I saw some of you at the book launch. So if you're listening and you can spare a couple minutes to write it out, just update whatever you thought about the show or whatever you think about the show. An update.
Yeah.
Or just leave us the 5 stars. We'll take the 5 stars.
I don't know how to get people to leave reviews. I mean, I've tried dragging people onto the street and saying you're going to do it, and they're like, nope, nope, nope. So, anyways, if you're willing, if you like the show, that like all the podcasts say, it really, really helps, and it's like, yeah, it
It
does,
does.
but nobody's doing it. So, that'd be a great present for us, our summer present, if you're willing to leave a review. All right. So
All right.
Michelle,
So we also
oh, we're stepping on top of each other. You go.
I was going to say that we also compiled a list of podcasts to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, just different topics, and I've listened to some of them. I want to check out some of them, and the first one I want to mention is the Generative Age, which is AI and Education podcast with Alana Winnick. Alana Winnick does a lot of presentations, and she has, I don't know how many books she has out, but she's amazing.
Mm.
And I learned about this podcast at ISTE. She's easy to listen to. The the episodes are a bit on the longer side, but they're good for a commute, so about an hour long. And again, it's related to education, which is why I think it's a good summer listen.
Cool. Anything else you've been listening to? I've got a couple. I got
Go
uh
share one of yours.
yeah. Well, this one I know that you've listened to it
Mm.
as well. AI and Education
Mm-hmm.
with Dan Bowen and Ray Fleming. I don't listen to it every time, but I like that they kind of keep on top of things and keep it fairly brief. I think it's like 20-ish minutes or something like that. I've seen some episodes that are like 15 minutes, and they're just like, hey, here's what some of the research is saying, here's what some of the tools are out there. And I found that to be a very non-overwhelming way to just listen and kind of go, okay, that's a good idea, or that's something worth knowing about for future conversations.
Mm-hmm. So there's also The Edge, which is the ISTE Community Leader podcast. This one doesn't publish or doesn't produce episodes as often. But what I do like is that because they interview or they have chats with the community leaders, you can get to learn about other tools or other things from the episodes. So that might be like the gate to something else. And that's how I find out about a lot of things. And they're about 30 minutes, but again, there's not as many. So you can check them out over the summer.
Yeah, and pick and choose the ones that you like. All right, so my last one here is just an episode. I can't really speak to the whole podcast, but I did like the episode. It's so the podcast is called Designed for Learning. The episode is called AI, Cheating, and Trusting Students to Be Human. And it's an interview with Trisha Bertram Gallant and David Redinger, who wrote this book called The Opposite of Cheating. But anyways, it kind of gets into the basic ideas of like this book. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But essentially, it's like, what are we talking about when we are talking about the AI and cheating conversation, and how are we kind of guiding the conversation forward? So, if you're kind of interested in that in the starts of that topic, I think this is a really good episode, and a lot of people have really responded positively to it.
And then last on my list of podcasts for the really nerdy people, or if you really want to do a very general uh, tech dive, is
Mm.
Last Week in AI podcast. I've actually been listening to it for several months. I don't listen to every episode because it literally is everything that happened related to AI from the previous week. So you get to know the drama, who quit, what's coming, who's fighting, a legislation. So it's a very, very broad dive into AI, which I think sometimes, and it's the hosts are pretty funny,
Mm.
so it's a good, again, even though they're pretty long episodes. I never listened to the whole thing, but it's interesting because then you start to connect what you're seeing in the news, especially with legislation and what to look for and what the implications might be. So in that sense, it's pretty useful.
Nice, nice. Okay, so now we're going to shift over to books. So a couple books or ideas for books that you might want to read. I'll do my two first tier shell because mine
Mm-hmm.
are kind of tech related and yours are kind of non-tech related.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first one, going right back to the podcast that I recommended, is the actual book, The Opposite of Cheating. So again, I don't know if I mentioned this when I went to the AI show in San Diego. I had just bought the book and then I saw them speaking, and they just happened to be there speaking right after I bought the book. I was like, oh, cool. So they just have such a really good approach. It's a really human way to understand like how students are dealing with things and how to have conversations with them. Not, not this like, hey, we've got the perfect solution to everything, but like we can make changes, small nudges in different directions to help support learning and reduce cheating and kind of really understand what all of that means. So that's one that I do think is worth reading. And the second one, this one came out last year. I just hadn't gotten around to reading it, but I started reading it on the plane on my recent trip, and it's Saba Kidway's Designing Schools: How Design Thinking Makes You Irreplaceable in the Age of AI. And sorry, Saba, I apologize. It took me so long to kind of actually get to reading it, but it is really cool. It's this whole idea of like trying to understand the humanity of teaching and the parts that cannot just be replaced by AI stuff. And so she's got this whole, you know, kind of helping you understand what that means and what that looks like, and then using design thinking and processes for students to to engage them better with their work and kind of reduce the dependency on AI, even though she's also a big advocate for AI and says, hey, there's a lot of really positive ways to understand and look at this stuff. So I'm about halfway through with that right now, and it's been quite strong so far.
Okay. So the one I threw in here is not a newer book. It's a 2021 published book, but I think is quite relevant. It's called Generation Alpha: Understanding Our Children and Helping Them Thrive by
Mm,
Mark McCrindle and Ashley Fell. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this when I first found it. But again, every time I get a new group of students, I realize how the generation alpha is going to rapidly be in my classroom in
mm-hmm.
a few years. And again, with technology growing so fast and us not being able to catch up with what our children are, how they're learning and how their brains are being formed nowadays, I think it's a must read. I think it will prepare you. And of
Nice.
course, if you have children, then it's a must read. Another non tech book, but equally important, is called Practicing Liberation: Reflections on Burnout, Trauma, and Building Communities of Care and Social Justice Work. And as language teachers or teachers in any community, we do a form of social work there.
Mm-hmm.
This is by Tessa Hicks Peterson and Hala Corey. You can probably find a lot of information about the book and then conversations with different contributors to the book, but I think it's um, especially recently it's useful to know how to practice, how to um, monitor mental health, and how to keep our community of teachers and students thriving in situations that are really what's the word? I can't find the right word.
Traumatic, rough.
Traumatizing. Yeah,
Yeah.
traumatizing. They're rough. And also because we don't want to burn out, it's really easy to see the headlines. And also, once they're connected to our students, it's very hard to step out of that dark hole.
Yeah,
So it's very important for us for the longevity of the people who nurture our students and for ourselves, right?
for
To
sure.
have a backup plan. So
That
read it.
yeah. That is going on my list for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So those are some, again, don't do all of these things, please.
Just something.
pick, pick and choose something that's
Mm-hmm.
useful to you. One book, one podcast, maybe one tool, or maybe only one out of all of the things we've mentioned.
Yeah.
That's totally fine too. Like, do what suits you and do what works for you. But you know, these are at least a few ideas that can kind of point you in the right direction.
All right, it is time for our fun finds. And in the spirit of trying not to be interrupted by ads and all sorts of, social media and distractions,
Mm-hmm.
I've recently, I recently moved to DuckDuckGo as a browser,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a built-in feature in there where you can watch YouTube videos and it'll take out the ads.
Nice.
So that's really cool. So DuckDuckGo YouTube video player is my
Very
fun
cool.
find.
Very good. Mine is well. This is hard to call it exactly a find because I've had this. So when I was 16 years old, I bought myself my first Swiss Army knife. And then I
Ooh.
found I got I was quite happy with it. I found the right one, and then I probably about 15 years later I had to replace it. It either lost or broken or something, and now another 15 years later, here I am.
You bought yourself a new
I
one?
just bought myself a new one, and it's the exact same one as the one that I had
Cool.
before, but it's called the Victorinox Mini Champ is the name of it. This is like my one thing that I carry with me every single day, and I use it every single day. So it's a surprisingly useful little tool. I mean, like I said, I've been 30 years with this thing now, but I had to
That's
buy my
cool.
new one because this particular one has a little light built into it too. And anyways, at some points it falls and chips and breaks apart. And even though it lasts quite a long time, I got my newer version, which is the exact same as my older version. So anyways, I love this little knife, the Victorinox Mini Champ.
All right. For the show notes and other episodes, check out diesel.org/123 for episode
Hey.
123. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram at DieselPod.
All right. You can find me on the socials or some of the socials at Brent G. Warner.
And you can find me on most socials, I think. I don't know these days. Pixie underscore Pixie. That's IXY underscore PIXY. Thank you for
Thanks, everybody. Take
listening.
care.